Rey and Ben Solo. A pair of Force users hailing from two of the most powerful lineages in the history of the galaxy. One born of light, but groomed for darkness. The other born of darkness, but called to serve the light. Together, these descendants of Lords Vader and Sidious formed a dyad in the Force. An ancient prophecy foretold the coming of two beings, bound together as one, whose unified destiny would shake the stars. And 30 years after the Galactic Empire's defeat on Endor, as Darth Sidious prepared to unveil his revival and seize the galaxy once more, Ben and Rey came face to face for the first time. Finally, the Force had brought them together, but one glaring problem stood in the way. These chosen individuals who unknowingly held the galaxy's fate in their hands stood on opposing sides. In the beginning, they clash head to head, neither of them fully understanding what they were fighting for. As their story progresses, however, Rey and Ben quickly begin to realize that there is something unique about their connection. And the next time they meet in the flesh, they join forces as Kylo Ren kills his master to save Rey. Still though, their visions do not align, causing each of them to retreat back to their respective sides. 1 year passes as their bond continues to develop, and then Rey and Kylo come face to face once more on the ruins of the Death Star. His pursuit of greater power has drained Kylo Ren. He knows he cannot return to the light, but at the same time, he lacks purpose in his current position. He hopes that Rey will join him and rid him of that emptiness, but he is also beginning to understand that she is not going to do so. And Kylo's hard-headedness, or perhaps more accurately, his ignorance and refusal to acknowledge that Rey can and will help him to climb out of this dark pit that Darth Sidious has dug for him, has pushed her to the edge as well. And the discovery about her own dark lineage only adds to her conflict. And so, we zero in on this battle, in which these two warriors meant to come together in the light, both teeter on the brink of insanity as they fight their destiny. It is Rey who initiates the violence, but Kylo quickly responds, defending himself in the beginning and then going on the offensive. Still, he holds back. He refuses to harm her, but he must make his dominance clear. This is his last shot at getting her to turn to his side, but it is a hopeless fight. And on that realization, he presses harder, forcing Rey to the ground, but still, she refuses to submit, continuing to fight despite her obvious loss. And so now, overcome by his frustration and anger, Kylo prepares to deliver the fatal stroke. But then, the impossible happens. The most unexpected thing he could ever imagine. After all these years of hearing nothing from his mother, all this time of nobody reaching out, Leia calls out for her son. And that action, this reaching out from his mother, steals every bit of conscious awareness that Kylo Ren has. Every ounce of his focus shifts to Leia. But Rey does not share Ben's distraction. She is still caught up in the rage of their battle. And so as Kylo's lightsaber falls from his hand to the ground, Rey's anger takes over. She catches Kylo's saber, ignites it, and thrusts it into his gut with all of her might. Instantly, Rey snaps out of it. She stands in shock as she senses Leia becoming one with the Force. She turns Kylo's lightsaber off. His body falls to the floor as she stumbles backward. She is in utter disbelief. Once again, she'd lost control, and this time, there were consequences. The darkness was swelling in her, and there was nothing she could do about it. The harder she fought it, the more it grew. She looks down at her defenseless victim. He too sits in shock, not only because of the gaping hole cutting straight through his torso, but more so because of his mother. Her love for him had never faded, nor had his love for her. A reality he could no longer deny, nor was he sure he even wanted to. Something changed within him just now. It wasn't subtle, it wasn't a question of whether something had changed or not. A very distinct and identifiable awakening was taking place within him. A moment before, he was Kylo Ren. Now, he didn't know who he was. He was no one. He was nothing. And he was going to die that way, right here, right now. But then, Rey crouches next to him, tears flowing as she bows her head and reaches toward him, concentrating all of her energy on him. And through this act in which Rey heals his wound, Ben Solo is revived. Stabbing him in the stomach marked the death of Kylo Ren. Rey healing him marked the rebirth of Ben Solo. And when she leaves, allowing Ben a moment to take all of that in and his father appears to him, Ben accepts his new reality. The entire interaction between Han and Ben Solo is simply a visual representation of Ben processing his own redemption. Han Solo isn't really there, but Ben needs that confirmation from his father. And that's sort of the cherry on top, so to speak. That's what solidifies his return to the light for him on a personal level. And then when we shift back to Rey, she flees to Ahch-To with the intention of exiling herself like Luke did. And she does this because the complete loss of self-control she experienced in her duel with Kylo Ren shook her in a way that nothing else had. The reality of her being a Palpatine and the way she could have killed Chewbacca earlier in the film if he had been on that ship were building blocks for this final moment in which she nearly murders a defenseless opponent. The possibility that her power could be made to serve the Emperor in that way is not something she is willing to risk, and so she runs from it. And what Luke does for Rey when he appears to her is he shows her that the darkness she has encountered within herself is not something to fight. It's in everyone. Luke, Leia, and Ben have all had their struggles with it, and now she has too. What Luke helps Rey to understand is that the dark side and the light will always be a part of her. They both exist in unison. They always have and they always will. What Rey must do is accept the darkness within herself and understand that she is in control of her own actions. Fear is a choice, and she does not have to be afraid. But without that moment on the Death Star, Rey would not have made this revelation, and her gradual inching closer and closer toward the dark side would have continued. And so that is why this duel was so important. This was the interaction that killed the darkness in both of these characters. For Ben, it's simple. The darkness was destroyed and Ben was reawakened. For Rey, her darkness was put on full, undeniable display, and that forced her to confront her greatest fear, which is the potential devastation that could be inflicted by her own power. And through those coinciding revelations, the dyad is finally brought together in all of its glory. And on that note, I am going to go ahead and wrap this video up here, so thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please remember to drop a thumbs up to support the channel, leave your thoughts on this video in the comments section below, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and remember, the Force will be with you always.